I'm Ashton Addison from Blockwest Capital for Investment Pitch Media, and today on the Crypto Coin Show we have Zack Guzman, the host of Coinage. Zack, welcome to the show, and thank you for taking the time today.
Thanks, Ashton. Super excited to be here. Big things happening over here at Coinage.
Yeah, I know your team's working on something really special in the media sector, which is near to my heart, and I feel like incorporating more blockchain, NFT, Web3 governance into this sector is something that's going to be more predominant in the future, the very near future, with the growth of DAOs and sort of NFTs coming into the hands of everybody. It's something super exciting, and I'm excited to dive into what your team is working on. I'd love to kick off our conversation with just a little bit on your background and sort of what led you to start Coinage.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a media guy as well. I worked at CNBC and Yahoo Finance for almost a decade in media as a multimedia reporter and anchor covering crypto myself, and just seen a lot of the issues around coverage, right? It's just kind of tricky sometimes to figure out what your audience actually wants to know in anything, not just crypto, but, politics, any sector of news, and being able to report that in a way that's a little bit more honest in the coverage, right? And so as we've seen, to your point around Web3 and DAOs exploding and NFTs and governance and the things like that, I was really curious to see what we might be able to do when we create a community-run and community-owned show. And that's kind of where the idea for Coinage came from, was just, all right, what happens when you start to knock down that wall between media outlet and the audience? And if you can align incentives in a way that's pretty native to crypto and DAOs and Web3, what kind of show can you create? And that's kind of the experiment we're running here at Coinage, where the audience co-owns the show with us via our NFTs and helps in weighing in on what we cover and how we cover it. Very
cool, and I'm excited to dive into that. And you mentioned there about, there's so many different aspects you could cover in crypto and in blockchain, some of them more hyped than others. Often you see the moon boys talking about the price of Bitcoin going crazy, or leverage trading, and that gets a lot of ears at first, but might not always be the most proper way of reporting it. And especially when it gets to the bear market and, not everything is going up and the markets are more normal. I'm curious on what you see as the important things to cover when you're starting to cover crypto, especially for people that are just following the news and they aren't really in the industry yet.
That's always, that's the trickiest thing, even when I was covering it at CNBC and Yahoo, is, all right, where is our audience at in kind of this cycle? And I think anyone who comes into crypto, it's like maybe you dip a toe with understanding Bitcoin, but then you're lost in the sauce when it's like, all right, now there's Ethereum and now there's thousands of other projects I need to pay attention to. It becomes very tricky. And, it's tricky on our side as well when we're trying to figure out what to cover and how we explain some of these things. And that was really the frustrating part for me as a journalist, was I don't know where our audience is at in that journey. And I don't know, it's impossible for anyone in crypto to say they know everything about it. Like, that's the biggest lie in crypto. It moves so fast, it's impossible. So I need help. Any journalist needs help out there. And I think kind of the more honest way to do it is you attract really smart people who are experts in their respective fields. So with Coinage, our first kind of token holders are some of the smartest people in the industry. We have Sam Bankman-Fried and John Wu, the founder of Avalanche, and we try and bring together really smart people who have conflicting interests, weigh in on what is the most important thing in crypto that we should be covering right now. Why is this a pretty good solution in that specific sector? And we kind of bring in their expertise. And then it's our job to tell the story in a way that the audience understands. And if the audience co-owns this thing with us, then they get to weigh in and say, look, that didn't make too much sense to me. I would have done this differently. And it's kind of an ongoing feedback experiment to make the end product better. And again, the incentives are aligned because if you co-own the show, you want it to be the best crypto show possible. And then again, selfishly, my friends ask me these questions. I'm sure you get hit with the same questions all the time, is what the heck's going on? And I kind of got tired of explaining it, one friend to another friend to another friend. And this show is just a really good way to kind of bring everybody along in kind of crypto as it evolves and help us all together kind of figure this out.
Mm-hmm. I like that. And great sort of founding members to, bring their expert insights into what's happening currently, because as you're right, there's so much going on. And I'm curious on how you balance that of having like a sort of a DAO structure where the NFT holders and subscribers get to have a say in what they want. When there's thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that sort of want different things, how do you agree and sort of follow a narrative or a niche in the media without being, sort of scattered all around with mining over here and staking here and, markets and then news? How do you sort of bring that into one picture?
Yeah, to be honest, that's been the hardest part. I mean, we're not the first kind of media experiment for something that could be decentralized and co-owned. There's a few other examples out there, and I think they've run into that same problem, right? It's really tricky if you are scattered around in that. Like, what we're trying to do is more of an episodic weekly kind of format where we distill a certain thing down and take you through and explain the context in an episode. So our first one was kind of everyone's reporting in crypto, right? You have like the audience of degens, as they're called, where they'll report the headlines to people who already know what's going on. But the mission of Coinage is to explain the context around those headlines and put the dots together to tell a narrative story. And so our first one on Terra, which was, crypto's biggest collapse, we went out and explained kind of the context around what made that project unique, why it exploded. And then, we were originally going to tell that story before it exploded, but now in the context of that explosion, the biggest crypto collapse, we went out and found, the co-founder of that project and got the interview with him straight to the source, the first interview he'd ever given, the founder of Terra, Do Kwon, and sat down and asked him those questions and presented it in a fully episodic kind of 30-minute episode. So anyone from scratch can watch that and follow it through. So that's kind of the goal, is really distill everything and put it out. And to your point on everyone else kind of having, one person might be interested in that, one person might be interested in that. That's kind of the point of the experiment, is to distill, all right, what is the consensus here for what is the most important thing in crypto to cover? And then we take it from there and put together the episode. But yeah, it's a challenge whenever you have any DAO, whether it's media or, DeFi projects, finance, whatever the mission is. It's really hard to find that consensus, but I think it can be a better model for media, just given kind of biases in other newsrooms and the way that we've kind of aligned the incentives to make the show only report objective facts, rather than maybe, some of the shills out there. That's a big problem in crypto, where it is all about just what that one person holds and trying to get other people to buy it. At Coinage, we don't want to give price recommendations or buy recommendations. We want to focus on the facts.
Mm-hmm, definitely. And I saw it was trending, this Do Kwon Terra, and I think it was very timely. A lot of people, especially newbies, that saw the high yields in the Terra ecosystem, wondering what happened and what's the story and are they going to get their money. And I feel like bringing in the founder, it was great timing. But what I thought was super cool about it was this NFT sort of DAO aspect that you're bringing into it, getting people that are owners of the NFTs get first access to the interviews and sort of be able to shape that moving forward as well. Can you talk about that experiment? And I haven't really seen this in media before, where you're getting early access through the NFTs, although I feel like it's something that's going to happen more often as we grow. How did that work out, and are you considering it a success, and how are you going to shape your continual media coverage through what you learned through that first Terra interview?
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. I mean, I think in the entire NFT space, a lot of people are trying to figure out right now. There was that big boom when everyone thought NFTs were just digital art, right? And then it was like, okay, well, what's the utility to these things? What does it unlock for me? Why should I care? Beyond just pure speculation. Like, I'll buy a cartoon monkey and price of cartoon monkey goes up. Beyond that, what are NFTs all about? And what was really cool about this first episode is it was a point to prove like what NFTs can do. Specifically for media, for us at Coinage, that's the question. And we use these free NFTs basically as your subscription login. So everyone's familiar with, okay, you pay $5, you get to like read the New York Times every month, or you pay $5 a month to read the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal, whatever it may be. But what if you replace that subscription with an NFT, right? And for us, the subscription is free. So all you need to do is pay gas fees to mint this thing. But it brings you into our ecosystem. And as you said, it gets you access to our episodes first. So you can watch it ad-free and before it's posted to YouTube. So you can see kind of, it was trending. So everyone could have seen our episode first and figured out what Do Kwon had to say if they had minted our NFT first. So it's just kind of another one of those cool experiments. And we've seen this kind of now copied in the industry since we did it. To show like what you can do when you token gate some of this stuff. But the cool part is we've seen a lot of people who minted those free NFTs figure out what Coinage is all about, use it, trust us, know that we can be trusted, and then upgrade from there from a free NFT into our ownership tier. So they co-own Coinage with us. And the way that we had to structure that, I mean, it took months to figure that out to do it legally, but regulators are figuring it out too. And so basically we structured it as if you buy the NFT, you co-own the show via our DAO co-op that's legally registered in Colorado. And that lets us basically keep track of who's contributing to the show and reward them based on how much they've helped Coinage make a better show. And so all the incentives are aligned, and it's really cool to be able to say, yeah, you saw that interview with so-and-so, I'm a part of that, I co-own Coinage.
That's super cool. And being able to own part of the company and have a say in it is, by just owning an NFT and not really, going through the traditional way of being a stockholder or like getting voting rights in the company, I feel like is the future of internet organizations. And what we've seen through the growth of DAOs in the blockchain space over the last couple of years, I feel like there's still a lot to come in terms of how we're going to see internet organizations actually run through blockchain, through NFTs. I feel like we're very, very early on, and there's still, companies have been around for centuries. And how do we put this all into the blockchain? And how are you looking at that going forward? Now with the ownership NFTs out, how do you shape how exactly it's all going to work and run smoothly and hopefully smoother than a regular company using DAOs?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool right now because after we put that first interview out, we saw our Twitter pages, our YouTube page blow up, and anyone who's interested can go to coinage.media/join to basically apply to co-own Coinage with us. But I mean, it was cool when we were setting this up because cooperatives, legal cooperatives, have been around for hundreds of years, I think, maybe tens of years for sure. REI is an example, right? And so you can be a co-owner of REI, go into the store, buy something, and get a dividend because you've basically patroned that business. You've made it better because you purchased something. And so it was really cool talking to accountants and lawyers and structuring this and kind of how DAOs are now getting integrated into the laws as they exist in this country already, is that they were excited because they're like, wow, something like this needs to exist. You're bringing cooperatives. This is what our accountant told us. You're bringing cooperatives into the 21st century. And like that is pretty exciting to us because this model has already existed, I think, as a better way to break down the wall between like customer and business. And now in media, I think it's the same thing, right? We can break down the wall between creator and audience and have them create a better show and align those interests in a legally approved way. And so to me, that's really the most exciting piece is because like it's not difficult, right? This has been done before in other sectors. But when you think about kind of doing this with NFTs and stuff, it's really just making sure that the regulators are on board, that people understand kind of what they're buying into, how this all works. And it's tricky. We've seen that in crypto. Regulators generally don't understand the technology. But if you explain it to them in a way that it's like, look, this isn't really that different than what's been done. It's just a different way of doing it. Then everyone kind of figures it out together. And that's why, like Coinage as a show, I think putting ourselves in the arena is actually going to make it easier for us to cover some of this stuff and more exciting for us to cover some of this stuff because we're in it, right? This is our job now. This is our baby. This is our thing. And now we can talk to regulators in a way that's like, no, we're in the arena. We know exactly how this is because we filed that form. Mm-hmm. So I think it just makes it a little bit more exciting when we're actually living, breathing Web3 and doing it with people that co-own this with us. So again, it's been exciting because to your question, we've seen people applying at coinage.media/join jump significantly since we put this out there. So it's really exciting. It's truly the early days.
It is very exciting, Zach, and it's great to hear that the regulators and the registration that you've gone through, those people understand. I feel like giving the co-op analogy is a great bridge to it's like that, but with a little bit more digitization and forward-thinking 21st century version. So I'm really looking forward to seeing more companies, not just in media and in blockchain, but other companies that you wouldn't think for decades they'd be involved in blockchain, all of a sudden becoming DAOs and having more digital governance. So it is very exciting. And with Coinage as the first show, I saw that there's also trustless media. Can you talk about what is the difference between Coinage and trustless media?
Yeah, so I co-founded Trustless Media, again, kind of with the backing of really smart people in crypto who have seen some of the pitfalls and struggles and worked to bring on the mainstream audiences. And so it was cool to have Sam Bankman-Fried, the CEO of FTX, as one of our original backers, along with John Wu from Avalanche, because they've been dedicated to this idea of explaining crypto to a mainstream audience for a while. So to have them as partners is pretty cool. But the idea is basically Trustless Media is a Web3 media incubator. So Coinage is the first show to come out of Trustless, but the idea is Coinage is proving a new model for media. Everything that we're doing with NFTs and co-ownership around this cooperative model can be replicated beyond just crypto news. We're starting with crypto news because that's where kind of the adoption is. People understand how to mint NFTs and how this all works. But beyond crypto news, you can replicate this model with more popular media verticals. So you can think food, you can think travel, you can think politics. There's a bunch of things out there where this model of co-ownership lets you focus in on not just, unbiased stories, but also exactly the stories that your audience wants to hear. I think in media, we see a lot of times people trying to figure those things out. You can look at CNN Plus, kind of like, if we build it, they will come, without any real input from the audience saying, we want this. Whereas with this, it's like you put the idea out there, people buy the NFTs, they say that they're interested in what you're building, and then they co-own it with you. So it's kind of like a Kickstarter meets Patreon model with verifiable co-ownership using NFTs. So, we're trying to prove this model out with Coinage. It's been working well so far. We're excited to see where it goes. And then Trustless Media beyond that will hopefully be there for the next creator who comes along and says, I like what you guys did in crypto. I want to do this for whatever they're interested in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, please do expand out beyond crypto. And obviously it's great that everybody in crypto gets involved. But it was that breakout of when NFT sort of got into the fine art space and it introduced a whole nother industry that really wasn't very technology savvy into the world of Web3 and sort of created a lot of extra value for those industries that didn't have this technology before. And I feel like this technology can create tons of value in a lot of industries. So I'm hoping you guys continue and grow that into other forms of media that aren't just in crypto. Although, obviously crypto is near and dear to our hearts. I feel like it's going to bring a lot of value for a lot of people. And there you mentioned again about, Sam Bankman-Fried and John Woo, having a say in this. I feel like that's great. I did see the press release. You guys raised $3.25 million from the seed round, which I think is super exciting. I'd love if you can talk about, with that closed, how you use that capital to continue to grow, and what's the main focus to take this to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good start. Obviously, it's enough to get the idea going and to set up all the, the legal structure of what we're trying to build to make sure that the model works first before we expand to the next types of shows. But yeah, having them on board is definitely like helping us build this out and attract more, responsible partners. Part of the thing around creating this is bringing in really good partners, not just kind of, again, there's not so much trust in the crypto space, and I think we've seen why, right? A lot of times people just try and quote unquote pump their own bags. But when you have people who are bought into the whole mission of growing the whole space and want to operate as a, trusted party, if we attract those types of people, then we're building this with the right team. And so, having them on board is extremely important for us. But we want to open it to anyone who is trusted. So again, we've opened those public applications now at coinage.media/join. But the idea of where this goes beyond that is, the old model for media was basically using your audience as a means to an end, right? You would grow a really large audience, you would sell ads against them, and that kind of gets away from the whole reason we're doing what we're doing, right? Mm-hmm. But the idea of using your audience not just as a means to an end, but the end in and of itself changes the whole thing, right? If we can grow an audience and they trust us and we can create some sort of new model where they stake Ethereum or whatever coin with us and we run our own thing, we're selling our trust and our reputation as the product, right? That's what people come to us for. And that's more direct than introducing advertisements that might change our bias in the stories we tell. It's just a better model, I think, for the future of media. And so we're really excited to prove it out. Obviously, I think having Sam and John attached to this makes us a little bit more respected in the space. Mm-hmm. And, what we're talking about is crazy ideas, right? Anything in Web3 is kind of nuts. It takes a lot of explaining for any project in Web3 or any DAO, but like to have imaginative people or imagine, people who can creatively think about these problems and solutions. Mm-hmm. It's been really exciting to work in this space, and I've been jealous of everyone building in this space ever since I've been covering them. And so to finally take the plunge with the team we have here and address some of these problems, it's been really exciting. And again, super excited to welcome anyone into the Coinage community if they want to mint a free NFT to watch our stuff or co-own it with us at Coinage Media. it's just early days. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Definitely. And I'm super excited for you too, Zach. And I have a question surrounding, the sort of decentralized nature or unbiased nature of having a DAO-based media platform, with Sam Bankman-Fried and John Woo involved. How do you ensure that, the news isn't leaning towards Avalanche news all the time, or, you're really not having a sway by, say the Avalanche Foundation starts promoting it, and then 50% of the NFT owners end up being in the Avalanche ecosystem, and then it sort of gets to be mainly about Avalanche.
Yeah.
How do you see that chance of that happening moving forward, and how would you deal with that?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because that was kind of how we were thinking about things as we set them up, right? And, I've seen a lot of other projects when they start and building a community, right? It's like, if you agree with the creator, then you get whitelisted and they let you mint the NFT, and then they choose every individual person who joins, right? And you wind up with that. You wind up with an echo chamber of everyone who has the same thoughts because they agreed with the person who created the community. What we designed at Coinage was basically, we started with those people, and myself included in our backers. But as we kind of have these mints, anyone who mints actually earns the invites to invite the next round of people who will co-own Coinage with us. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of decentralized from the start, right? It's not all up to me. It's not all up to John. It's not all up to Sam to invite these people. But anyone they invite then earn invites who have the full power to invite whoever they want into this ecosystem. So we don't have the control. They don't have the control. But you're absolutely right to point that out. The idea of why we wanted to start with them is Sam is a huge Solana guy. John obviously is a huge Avalanche guy, and those like conflict of interests, we hope, cancel each other out. Even if they invite people who think the same way they do, eventually we'll wind up with a community that does disagree with each other, fosters that debate within our Discord and wherever we're planning these shows, so we can be left only with kind of the objective facts driving these stories. And it's been a real cool model of seeing kind of how this community gets built in a way that I don't control, they don't control, but like the community itself controls, if you think about this being kind of an invite chain as it goes on until we have filled up our ranks.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. I'm looking forward to seeing, what kind of content comes next. And, we don't have a lot of time left, Zach, but I want to talk about sort of the actions to take for the end users and to get them to see the news and the media that they want to see. So if they go to coinage.media and they get the NFT, how does that work? Do they make a vote on what they want to see next? Or so what are the next steps once they get that NFT?
Yeah, so we're building everything out right now. Right now we have an active Discord community, which, if you mint the NFT, which again, you can start with a free one even if you want to not risk anything at all. It gets you into the Discord where we're planning some of these things. We have interviews coming up. We're already asking our community kind of the questions they're interested in and building out kind of this first season as a pilot season. And then hopefully by the end of it, after we've put those episodes out and after we've grown our community large enough, we'll get to the point where this increasingly becomes decentralized and it's not just us picking kind of the episodes in the beginning. But those votes are kind of already happening in Discord as we source, hey, what's the most interesting thing you're hearing? What's the most interesting project you want us to highlight with our megaphone? So it's really, Coinage is, the metaphor I use, a DAO with a megaphone. And if you can control the narrative for a mainstream audience and say, no, this is important enough for you to cover, that's our job, is to present it in a way that's honest, truthful, and highlights kind of the most important things in crypto. And so it's been exciting to kind of see people come into this, maybe having seen the way that some crypto media publications cover stories with the jargon that confuses a mainstream viewer, but instead, the way we're trying to do it is, yes, we know what you know in crypto. Come own this with us and help us explain it to kind of the people who have no idea what the hell's going on. And it's been exciting to see all of us working together to do just that. And so, your question, you can go to coinage.media/join if you want to co-own this with us. You can go to coinage.media and mint a free NFT and kind of see our early episode that we talked about with Terra. Or you can follow us on YouTube and Twitter and start to see kind of just the episodes as we put them out. But, again, it's early. We're growing. We've seen ourselves kind of blow up in this space. People took notice, and Coinage is out there now. So we're asking everybody to come help build this with us.
Very cool. I love it, Zach. And I will be getting one of those subscriber NFTs right now, and I'm looking forward to seeing the next interviews. So thank you so much for the insights and for sort of revolutionizing the media space with Web3. I'm always interested in seeing how Web3 fits into these different industries and provides value for everyone in the space that's involved. So props to you and your team for working on this. And I will leave the links in the description box below as well to make it easy for the viewers to get that and to check out the YouTube channel and to get the NFTs. So thank you for your insights, and let's follow up in the near future.
Appreciate it, Ashton. Thanks so much for having me.